ABC Radio Hobart, ABC Northern Tasmania. I'm Kylie Baxter and I want to tell you about Hobart's Dark Fringe Festival. It's taking place from this coming Saturday, the 23rd, lasts 3 days, 15 scientists performing. They'll basically be doing 10-minute talks, and this is the way it's rolling. 80% science, 20% humour. So it's not necessarily the scientists being funny. It might be there's a comedian doing that bit. You have to go along to find out exactly how the mix will be. But each show features on each of the days. So think on the Saturday, there'll be 5 to 6 local scientists that day. And they, for example, I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown. On the Saturday, the first day, there's Kate Fraser talking about seaweed creatures, which will be brilliant. Emma Church will be talking about reefs. Emille, Boulot, environmental law, who'll join me in the studio in just a moment, is on the first night on the Saturday. Scott Spilius, artificial intelligence and mapping oceans, and Camille Muir. We'll talk about kids and mobility, and apparently she's a really great speaker as well. So that's just the Saturday alone. I'll be able to tell you what else is coming up on the Sunday and also the Monday. But I want to introduce you to David Crisante, who's the Director of Future Science Talks. Hello, David. We've got a bit of an echo.
Hi, Kylie. How are you?
Great. I think what we're going to have to do is actually get you on the phone line due to an echo. So hang five and we'll come back. I want to introduce you now to my guest, Joel Williams, who's a quantitative marine ecologist. I thought, whoa, that's a mouthful of a name. Maybe we'll just call you, a fish specialist. Lovely to have you in the studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Do you get called a fish expert? Can we just call you that?
Or a fish ecologist? Fish nerd.
Fish nerd, yeah, all of the above.
All above.
And I'd also like to introduce Emille Boulot, who's an environmental lawyer. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
And so David Crisante, we now have him on a phone line, which is lovely. That's the good thing about the ABC. We've got so many different types of technology. Hi, David.
Hello.
Yeah, nice and clear. We've got you there, which is great. This is really exciting, and I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. Are all of the scientists that you have booked in also pretty excited?
Yeah, they are. They've been preparing now for a bit over a month, and all the talks are very different. All the researchers themselves also are very different, and so it's been really fun seeing them all get together and put on a good show.
And so where did you come up with the idea? Have you seen it done elsewhere and thought, like, we are the capital, or per capita, I think we've got more scientists than anywhere in the country. Don't quote me on that figure. I feel like we have anyway. Is that why you thought it would be a good idea here?
Yeah, it's something that we have experimented this year across several capital cities. And when we contacted some researchers in Hobart, we were thinking of doing one show. Maybe 5 or 6 people might put up their hand. And in the end, we had so many people keen who are in science that we've put on 3 shows.
Oh, that is brilliant. So, Joel Williams, as a fish ecologist, fish nerd, and many other titles, I believe you're going to be revealing the secrets of the reef, just beyond the recreational diving depths, a place that not many people get to. Tell us what you love about going diving in Tassie, like what it offers.
That's right. I think Tassie offers some of the best diving in Australia. I do believe the Great Barrier Reefs are slightly overrated. When you're diving in Tasmania, there's such diversity, so everyone's probably more familiar with the giant kelp and the algae and the shallower reefs that you can dive in. But once you go beyond sort of 30 metres, the reefscape changes to, believe it or not, Tasmania has coral. We have reefs covered in coral.
I never think of Tassie as having coral, and that's something that you'll talk about, isn't it, on the weekend?
Absolutely.
Is it are you talking about it in the context of where so many fish are living, or the importance of keeping it, clean and healthy?
Yeah, both. It's important habitat for fish. 70% of the seafood we eat is actually caught on these deeper reefs. So, and there's the new network of Australian marine parks that protect these deeper reefs. So it's important that we actually get an understanding, because at the moment we know so little about these deeper reefs.
Have you seen a red velvet handfish?
Not in the water. I have seen on a trawler. Yes, I have seen them.
Okay, yeah, so I don't think many people have. Actually, does anybody want to text into the program and tell me your favourite dive spots? What do you love about either snorkelling or diving in Tasmania? Because there are so many incredible places, assuming you can stand the cold and you've got a half-decent wetsuit. But text in, where do you love going diving? 0438 922 936. Emille, as an environmental lawyer, this really is an area that's growing, isn't it? Are you finding that you're really busy?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I grew up in Tassie and I've seen the environment change a lot since I was a kid. And I'm pretty passionate about restoring some of the harm that has been done to our environment in Tassie, improving ecosystems and, the beautiful nature that we have here. So it's definitely something that I'm passionate about, and it's certainly a growing area of law for sure.
And without throwing blame in any direction, what areas have you seen change the most since you were a kid? Where have you grown up and what have you seen?
Well, I grew up on the east coast of Tassie, and so I've seen the ocean really change quite a bit. So we've got a lot more marine heat waves now, and I'm not a specialist in this area. My field is in law, but certainly the marine ecosystem around Tassie has significantly changed.
And have you noticed that as a result of that, the kelp has disappeared? What are you seeing in that regard?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So I grew up on the coast, and so when I go snorkeling now, I've definitely seen a lot less sea life. Some of the kelp has definitely changed. There's a lot less of that as well. It's also a lot warmer, which is great for us who like swimming in midwinter, but less great for the species that live in the ocean.
So are you a bit of a cold water swimmer, are you?
I do like a little bit of a midwinter swim, yeah.
What about you, Joel? Are you a Wim Hof technique kind of guy? Do you dive into the freezing cold water and submerge yourself for 3 minutes?
I thought I'd join the party last winter. I did join a cold swimming group down at Kingston Beach there. They call themselves the Chilly Willies.
Oh, there you go. Does anybody else belong to the Chilly Willies? Look, we get in touch if you belong to a cold water swimming group. And furthermore, I want you to tell me if you're doing the winter solstice swim tomorrow. So the dark mofo nude swim happening tomorrow. Are either of you guys doing it?
No, but I'll do my own.
Yeah, your own personal one. What about you, Joel?
It probably won't. I'll be working on my sketch for Sunday afternoon.
Yes, okay. That's a very good excuse. And we've just had somebody text into the program. It says, Kylie, please tell us where to find more information about this event because this sounds fantastic. I can't see anything on the website about the science and comedy. I'd love to take my hilarious marine scientist husband to this. Well, we have got the man on the line, David Crisante, who is the Future Sciences Talk Director. David, for anyone who's just loving this conversation and wants to get along, can you explain?
Yes, so it's on Eventbrite. You can look it up there. It's called Future Science Talks Comedy Edition in Hobart. And every night we've got 5 different scientists and researchers speaking. A lot of them are from the University of Tasmania. We've had some great support from the university, which we're very grateful for. And the scientists are all of different, career, positions. So we've got some PhD students, some more senior researchers. It's a really big mix.
Now, I gave a bit of a rundown on the speakers that are happening Saturday night or Saturday from 7 p.m. at Shambles Brewery as part of this event. But Sunday's got a brilliant rundown as well. So without bombarding everyone with 1,000 names all at once, what does Sunday's rundown look like?
Yeah, we have some again, talking more about fish and habitats, some dust storms, sea ice. We've also got roadkill, which is a really interesting topic as well. So a very diverse group on Sunday. And then on Monday, we've got lizards, beetles, climate change, birds, seagrass, and cosmology.
Fantastic. And am I right in saying it's actually a 3-day event and that it goes into the Monday as well at 7 p.m. at the Hobart Brewing Company?
It does, yes. So we've got Saturday and Sunday at Shambles Brewery at 7 p.m. and then Monday at the exact same time, 7 p.m. at Hobart Brewing Co.
And some of the things on that list are also beetles, lizards, climate change agreements, birds, reefs, cosmology. There's something literally for everybody. So, yeah, go online if you want to book a ticket. It's not that expensive either, is it, from what I can see, David? No,
it's not. There are some early bird tickets. If you get tickets early, if you get them on the day, it does increase a little bit. Our goal is really to connect people in local areas with science professionals in local areas so that you can hear not only what they're doing, but also how it relates to the world, like the immediate world in which we live, rather than sort of the far-flung reaches of our planet. It's really interesting to connect locals with locals.
And just so everybody knows, I'll give you the details on where to find the location to buy the tickets again towards the end of the segment and the costings on the ticket. From memory, when I had a look earlier today, I think it was $27.50 to go to a whole session and hear all of these speakers on either the Saturday, the Sunday or the Monday. But Producer Honor, what a gun, she's just told me. The early bird tickets might be as low as $22. So go online and check that out. Now, coming back to you, Joel, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about ensuring that our oceans stay clean, or what is it that drives you to do what you do?
Well, I started snorkeling when I was 5 years old and started diving when I was 14, and I now have a 7-year-old son and a 4-year-old son. And I too have seen the oceans change a lot all around Australia. It's not just Tasmania. So I'm particularly passionate about doing my little bit. We can all do our bit, but I'm keen to do my bit to understand the ocean and help inform the government and hopefully drive some environmental laws to help protect the marine environment so that I can go diving with my 2 kids when they're old enough.
And now, if you got to go snorkeling when you were 5 years old and you could dive at 14, my guess is that you had a pretty active Tassie family. Did you have parents that loved getting out and about? Because that's pretty cool for a 5-year-old to get to do that.
Well, I was quite lucky. So I actually grew up on the Mornington Peninsula, just out of Melbourne. So I had the front
lovely.
beaches at the front and the back beaches at the back. So I was literally surrounded. It's like being on an island surrounded by water. And so, like in most Aussies, my summers were often spent at the beach.
And the fact that you then became a quantitative, I feel like I still can't say that, marine ecologist, is that why you moved to Tassie?
Yeah, absolutely. Hobart, as you said before, is the capital of marine science in Australia. There are, as you're correct, there's also more marine scientists in Hobart than anywhere else in Australia. It's a bit of a safe place for marine scientists to gather.
Got plenty of friends to hang out with.
Yeah, got plenty of friends to hang out with.
Oh, that's lovely. Now, I really want to understand more about some of the work that you are doing. Emille Boulot, who's an environmental lawyer, also my guest in the studio with me right now. What are some of the most important cases, not necessarily that you've worked on, but you think that have been, a part of the landscape of law and what has rolled out in the last few years environmentally?
Well, currently, actually, there's some really interesting law reform going on at the federal level. So there are reforms happening. So there's 3 tranches of reforms happening to the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. So that's at the federal level, and there's a lot happening in that space. So my research really looks at ecological restoration and how we can improve environmental laws that deal with ecological restoration, which is what we do after ecosystems have been degraded, damaged or destroyed. So one of the things that the federal government has done recently has brought in a nature repair market. So that's the idea, to get the private sector involved in kind of cleaning up some of the environmental mess that we've got a little bit.
And what will you focus on in your talk that you're giving this weekend?
Yeah, so I'm going to look at ecological restoration. It can be environmental decline can be a bit of a dark topic. So it's been really great to sort of integrate humour into my research. And I'm really hopeful as well that it will encourage the audience to be more hopeful and excited about environmental law reform. So I want to tell them a bit about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. If I had to turn up to that event, I'd be really nervous because I'm really terrible at being funny. I just can't be funny. And so when they say you're combining science and comedy, does that make you sort of get a bit of a shudder, or you just think, give me a really good comedian to stand by my side? How did you approach it, Joel?
Yeah, great question. I was a little bit terrified when David rang me up and asked me if I wanted to be a part of this program.
I did the same, totally.
I don't see myself as being a naturally funny person, but I think as a scientist we have lots of stories to tell. And the program's been really great. It's actually given us the skills through a series of 7 workshops we've learnt, and it's actually not that hard. With a bit of thinking and a bit of shuffling around words, you can start to integrate comedy into your talks and your presentations. And I think it's just a really good way of engaging with the audience and breaking down what could be quite a complex, like as you said, I'm a quantitative ecologist, which is working with big numerical models to understand what's happening in the ocean, and it's using comedy can be a great way of making it easier to understand and communicate to a much wider audience.
I'm sure there would be some funny stuff in your Kingston swimming group with the Chili Willies. I'm sure there'd be some tales to tell there. But I guess everybody's got something to bring to the table, and it's just a really lovely way to connect to people. Have you been a part of an event like this before, Emille?
No. And like you say, it's definitely tricky trying to be funny. So, I mean, I give lectures at UTAS at the Faculty of Law, and so students often groan at my jokes. So I'm really hoping that this training is going to pay off and they're going to laugh in future instead. So
the good thing is students might come along, because it sounds like a great event for really young people, because sometimes sitting in a lecture theatre, all they want to do is be at the pub, chilling out with their friends, having a bit of a laugh, maybe having a drink. And so this makes science very, I suppose, tangible, and it makes it fun just by being in a social environment, I would have thought.
Yeah, hopefully. And hopefully they think that I'm a much cooler lecturer after this as well.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, she's so cool. How many students would you generally have in a lecture theatre? I mean, how many people are actually studying environmental law at UTAS?
So I'm currently teaching a private law subject. So I've got about 85 students in my class, and that's about the same across the different cohorts. So yeah, in environmental law lectures, we've got 80 to 100 students generally.
Had some more people texting in. They're enjoying the conversation. I think you're going to be, it's going to be a bit of a full house. They're already sold out now, the early tickets. I don't know if it's just in the last 10 minutes, probably not. But the $22 tickets have sold out. Tickets are now $30, so it goes in waves, and they will increase in a couple of days to $35. So if you really do want to go, now would be the time to get in. So that's per night. You get to hear all of the speakers for that price. And so, more details towards the end of the interview. But Sally, who was so desperate to go and take her hilarious marine scientist husband to the event, has found the site, so that is great to know. Why is he so hilarious? I'd like to know that. What does he do? Or is that a little tongue-in-cheek? I do want to know the answer, though. Can you text back, Sally? Tell us about your hilarious husband. Another one, Paul here. Paul says, I got to dive East Coast in the good old days, lots, 100 to 120 foot dives. Worked at the dive centre in Bicheno. That was, he says, about 35 years ago, and I was really privileged through my life when it came to diving. Oh, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. Well, coming back to you now, David Crisante, definitely you've got everybody's interest. I suppose you were probably expecting that, though, that it'd be popular.
To be honest, we've been blown away by the interest in Hobart. I didn't know how big a hub it was in terms of marine scientists. I'm from Sydney. We play in the water, a lot here. We're very beach and marine focused, and yet it seems like there's so much expertise down in Hobart. It's really cool to see and interesting to see. So I'm really excited about the events. And I think one thing that Joel and Emille, hopefully are getting from the program is connecting with other people in science who are just as eager as they to communicate with others, seeing the cohorts come together and each night sort of forming a bit of a bond and a bit of a team, really feels like to the audience that we've put together a really nice show for them.
Well, thanks so much for joining me. It sounds like it's going to be great. Give us the details one more time, because I promised we would do that at the end of the interview for anyone who has just tuned in to hear about the Hobart Dark Fringe Festival involving science and comedy, with literally dozens of speakers coming up from this Saturday. It's Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Give us the details again, David.
Yeah, so it's Future Science Talks. That's what it's called. It's on Eventbrite, the website there, and it's Future Science Talks Comedy Edition in Hobart.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much as well to Joel Williams, a quantitative marine ecologist, and Emille Boulot, who is an environmental lawyer, both who are speaking at the event this weekend. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
28 minutes past 2 on ABC Radio Hobart, ABC Northern Tasmania.